Introduction: A Legend Among Kings. The battlefield roared with the clash of swords, the cries of warriors, and the thunder of hooves. In the midst of chaos stood a man whose very presence commanded awe, Richard the Lionheart. This is the tale of a king who was more than just a ruler. He was a warrior, a strategist, and an enduring legend who led armies, inspired loyalty, and left a mark that transcends centuries. But behind the shining armor and lion-hearted courage lies a complex man, one whose life was shaped by ambition, conflict, and sacrifice. The making of a Lionheart. Richard was born on September 8, 1157, in Oxford, into the powerful and often volatile Plantagenet dynasty. He was the third son of King Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine, a formidable woman who had ruled as both Queen of France and Queen of England. From his mother, Richard inherited her love of art, poetry, and culture, as well as her fiery determination. From his father, he gained strategic insight and a relentless ambition to lead. Even as a young boy, Richard was unlike others. He trained tirelessly in the arts of war, excelling in swordsmanship, horsemanship, and leadership. Legends tell of a young Richard who, during a royal hunt, faced down a lion and killed it with his bare hands, a story that earned him the nickname Lionheart. While the tale is likely apocryphal, it captures the essence of his character: fearless, bold, and larger than life. Rebellion against his father. But Richard's rise was not without conflict. The Plantagenet family was riddled with betrayal, and Richard himself rebelled against his father, King Henry II, aligning with his brothers in a bid for power. For years, England and its territories in France were engulfed in turmoil. Richard, despite his rebellion, proved himself a brilliant tactician and military leader, often outmaneuvering even his father's forces. Eventually, the strain of familial discord broke Henry II. On his deathbed, he reportedly cursed his sons, but it was Richard who succeeded him in 1189, becoming King of England. The call to crusade. Richard's coronation marked the beginning of a reign unlike any other. Unlike most monarchs, his focus was not on governance but on a mission of faith, reclaiming Jerusalem from Muslim control during the Third Crusade. Jerusalem had fallen to Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, and Richard saw himself as the chosen one to restore Christian dominance in the Holy Land. He poured immense resources into preparing for the crusade, famously declaring, "I would sell London itself if it would fund my army." Richard's ambition was not merely religious. For him, the crusade was an opportunity to cement his legacy as a warrior king, a defender of Christendom, and a leader on the global stage. The journey to the Holy Land. Richard's journey to the Holy Land was as dramatic as the battles he would later fight. In 1190, he set sail with one of the largest and most disciplined armies of the time, navigating treacherous seas and stopping in Sicily and Cyprus, where he conquered and claimed the latter as his own. By the time Richard arrived in the Holy Land in 1191, he was already a legend. But waiting for him was an equally formidable opponent: Saladin, one of the greatest military leaders in history. The Lionheart versus Saladin. The Third Crusade was, in many ways, a duel of minds and might between Richard and Saladin. While their armies clashed on the battlefield, the two leaders developed a mutual respect that transcended their religious and cultural divides. The most famous battle of the crusade was the Battle of Arsuf in September 1191. Saladin's forces ambushed Richard's army, but Richard, leading from the front, rallied his troops with a brilliant cavalry charge. The charge shattered Saladin's forces, turning what could have been a devastating defeat into a resounding victory. Richard's leadership on the battlefield was unparalleled. His mere presence inspired loyalty and fearlessness among his men. Despite these victories, Richard could not reclaim Jerusalem. The crusade ended with a truce between Richard and Saladin, allowing Christian pilgrims safe passage to the Holy City. It was not the triumph Richard had hoped for, but it was a significant diplomatic victory nonetheless. Betrayal and captivity. On his way back to England, Richard's journey took a dark turn. Shipwrecked and forced to travel through hostile territories in disguise, he was eventually captured by Leopold V of Austria and handed over to the Holy Roman Emperor Henry VI. Richard's imprisonment was a humiliation for England. The ransom for his release was astronomical, 150,000 marks, nearly twice England's annual income. Yet, the people of England rallied, raising the funds to free their beloved king. Even in captivity, Richard's legend grew. Stories spread of his charisma and defiance, and his eventual release only solidified his place as a hero in the eyes of his people. The lion's final roar. After his release, Richard returned to defend his territories in France. But in 1199, during a siege at the castle of Calas-Chabrol, fate dealt him a fatal blow. Struck by a crossbow bolt, Richard's wound became infected. Knowing his end was near, he showed incredible magnanimity by pardoning the crossbowman who had shot him, saying, "He did only as his duty commanded." On April 6, 1199, Richard the Lionheart died at the age of 41. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy was only beginning. The legacy of a Lionheart. Richard's reign lasted just 10 years, yet his impact was profound. He embodied the ideals of chivalry, courage, and leadership, becoming a symbol of medieval knighthood. The three lions on England's coat of arms, popularized during his reign, remain a lasting tribute to his legacy. But Richard's story is not without flaws. His absence weakened England's governance, and his wars drained the kingdom's coffers. Yet, his indomitable spirit and military brilliance ensured that his name would echo through history. Richard the Lionheart was not just a king. He was a legend, a man who lived and died by the sword, leaving behind a legacy of courage and honor. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of one of history's most extraordinary figures. If you found this story inspiring, like, subscribe, and let us know which historical legend you'd like to explore next.